You did something. You do not remember it, because you filed it under nothing. Chosen one, it was not the day you prayed the hardest. It was smaller than that. It was a moment nobody photographed, a moment nobody thanked you for, and you walked away from it thinking you had done the bare minimum that any decent person would have done. That is the exact moment I have been sent to speak to you about, because that is the moment heaven stopped. That is the moment the room above you went quiet, and a voice that has never needed a microphone said out loud, "That one is mine." And I know exactly what happened inside your body when I said that. A small resistance moved through your chest. A quiet, "No, not me." A reflex that arrived faster than thought, faster than argument, faster than you could decide whether to believe me or not. Hold on to that reaction. Do not push it away yet. That reaction is the entire subject of this message. Here is what is going to happen while you listen. You are going to understand why you can recall one sentence that wounded you 7 years ago with perfect accuracy, down to the temperature of the room and the way the light was falling, and yet you cannot name 3 of your own acts of integrity from the last 30 days. You are going to feel the specific ache of being unseen begin to loosen in your chest. Not because I flatter you, because it is going to become clear, in a way you cannot argue with, that you were seen the entire time and simply could not read the record that was written about you, and you are going to walk away, able to do something you cannot do right now. You are going to leave with a working method for recovering the evidence of your own life. That evidence is the only ground a human being can stand on when heaven asks them to carry something in public. Let me pay you something before we go any deeper, because I do not believe in making a person wait an hour for their first piece of bread. Try this while you are sitting there. Name 3 things you did in the last 30 days that nobody witnessed and that cost you something. Real cost. Money you could have kept, time you could have slept through, a word you could have said and did not. Take a moment. Most people cannot finish that list. Now do the other one. Name 3 things you did wrong in the same 30 days. Notice what just happened. That list arrived instantly. It arrived in order. It arrived with dialogue, with faces, with the exact tone of voice somebody used. You did not have to search for it. It was already loaded and waiting. That is not honesty. That is not humility. That is not you being spiritually mature enough to see your own flaws clearly. That is a recording problem, and it is happening inside a machine you did not build and were never given the manual for. Your memory was constructed to encode threat at the highest available resolution, because for thousands of years, threat was the thing that killed people, and it encodes quiet integrity at the very lowest setting, because integrity never threatened anyone, so nothing in the system ever flagged it as worth keeping. So you have been walking around holding a highlight reel of your failures in one hand and a blurred, unreadable file of your faithfulness in the other. And then you looked at the 2 of them, and you drew a conclusion about the kind of person you are. Chosen one, you reached a verdict about your own soul using corrupted data. There is a way that record gets restored, and there is one specific act inside yours, one moment, that is the reason you were claimed out loud. Before this message ends, I am going to describe the shape of that moment so precisely that you will know which one it was. Both of those things are coming. Stay with me. But before we go there, do one thing while your chest is still open, because it will close again by tomorrow morning. Leave 2 words in the comments. I was seen. Not because it will make you feel better for an hour. Say it because saying it out loud is the first entry you have made in your own ledger in a very long time, and something in you needs to hear you make it. Then come back here, because I am going to read you back to yourself. Now, let me describe your life to you, and you tell me how close I get. You are the one people call when something falls apart. You are not the one people call when something is being celebrated. You noticed that years ago and you decided it was fine, and mostly it is fine, except for a specific hour of the night when it is not fine at all. You have carried people who never once turned around to check whether you were still standing, and you did not resent them for it. That is what makes this so hard to talk about. You did not become bitter, you just became quiet, and the quiet has slowly hardened into a story about your own worth that you now repeat without noticing. When somebody thanks you, something in you goes tight. You say, "It was nothing." You say, "Do not worry about it." You say, "Anyone would have done the same," which is a sentence you have said hundreds of times, and which is not true a single time you have said it. Anyone would not have done the same. You did. You pray, and the prayers feel like they are being spoken into a room with excellent acoustics and no listener. Not because you doubt that God exists. You have never doubted that. You doubt that God has any particular interest in you specifically, as opposed to the general category of people who are trying. And here is the sign that convinced me you are the one this message is for. Recently, something in your life got heavier rather than lighter. More responsibility, not less. More weight on your shoulders in a season when you had every reason to expect relief, and you have been quietly wondering what you did to deserve the increase. 4 out of 5 of those, maybe all 5. And here is the thing about that list, chosen one. Every single item on it is a symptom of the same underlying condition, and it is not the condition you think it is. You believe you are unrecognized. You believe the problem is that heaven has not noticed you, or has noticed you and set you aside, or is waiting for you to become more before it says your name. That is not what is happening. Here is what is actually happening, in the plainest language I have. You are not unrecognized. You are unable to read your own record, and the specific act that got you claimed publicly is one you personally filed under nothing. Read that again slowly, because there are 3 separate claims inside it, and every one of them is going to be taken apart and proven in front of you. The claim that you were recognized, the claim that you cannot read the evidence, and the claim that the deciding act is one you have already dismissed. They have a name for the third one. The credit blindness. It is not modesty. Modesty is a choice you make about what you say. This happens before you say anything, in the 60 milliseconds between an event occurring and your brain deciding whether to file it. And every honest, tired, faithful person I have ever spoken to has it worse than every arrogant person they have ever met. That is not an accident, and by the time we are finished you will understand exactly why. So let us take the whole thing apart, starting with the symptom you feel most often and understand least. Here is the symptom. You cannot produce evidence of your own goodness on demand. If I asked you tonight to defend yourself, to stand up and make the case that you are a person of substance, you would go looking through your own memory and you would come back with almost nothing. A few things you would immediately qualify, things you would explain away in the same breath you offered them. Meanwhile, if I asked you to make the case against yourself, you would need no preparation at all. You could speak for 20 minutes without notes. You have the transcript of a conversation from 2019. You have a look somebody gave you at a family gathering. You have the thing you said at the funeral that came out wrong. Now here is the false cause, and I want to name it clearly, because you have been carrying it as though it were a diagnosis. You believe the reason you cannot find evidence of your goodness is that there is not very much of it. You believe the emptiness of the file is an accurate report on the emptiness of the life. That is wrong. Not gently wrong, completely wrong, in a way that can be demonstrated. And the demonstration is this. If the file were empty because the life were empty, the other file would be empty too. But the other file is overflowing. Both files record the same life, lived by the same person, across the same 30 years. One of them is full, and one of them is blank. A blank file, next to a full file, covering identical territory does not tell you about the territory. It tells you about the recording equipment. So here is the actual mechanism, and I am going to give it to you the way a doctor gives you a scan, rather than the way a preacher gives you a comfort. Your memory does not store everything at the same quality. It never has. When something threatening happens, the part of your brain that manages alarm floods the moment with a chemical marker that says, "Burn this in, keep it forever, never let this happen again." The result is a memory with texture, sound, temperature, sequence. It replays like a recording made on professional equipment. When something quietly good happens, no alarm fires, nothing floods. The moment gets filed at the lowest resolution the system offers, alongside the drive home and what you ate on a Tuesday. It is not deleted. It is stored so faintly that you cannot retrieve it on purpose, only by accident, usually when someone else brings it up and you say, "Oh, I forgot about that entirely." This is not a spiritual failure. Read that again. This is not a spiritual failure. It is not pride. It is not ingratitude. It is not a lack of faith. And it is certainly not evidence that heaven has been withholding. It is a survival system doing precisely the job it was built to do in an environment it was not built for. Because the system was built for a world where forgetting a threat killed you and forgetting a kindness cost you nothing. You are not living in that world anymore. You are living in a world where your sense of your own worth is assembled out of whatever your memory hands you. And your memory has been handing you a curated collection of your worst hours for as long as you have been alive. Now let me do something with your past, chosen one, because this changes what your past means. Every conclusion you have ever reached about yourself in a dark hour was reached using that same broken retrieval. Every time you lay awake and took inventory and came up short, you were not being honest. You were reading a file that had been assembled by a system with a permanent bias, and you were treating the output as a verdict. The night you decided you were selfish, the night you decided you were too much or not enough, the season you concluded that God had chosen other people and left you to manage on your own. All of it. Every one of those conclusions was drawn from a document that had 90% of the good deliberately underexposed. You have never once, in your entire life, judged yourself on complete evidence, not once. And you have been sentencing yourself in that courtroom for decades, which means the sentence does not hold, not because you are being let off, because the trial was invalid. And a person who understands that the trial was invalid is a person who can walk out of the building. Here is what you can do about it starting tonight, and this is the part that returns the power to your hands. You cannot fix the recording. That machinery is not under your control and it never will be. But retrieval is under your control. You can go and get the file deliberately, with effort, in writing. The same way you would recover any document that was archived badly. That is a skill, not a feeling. A skill, and you can be taught it in about 10 minutes, and I am going to teach it to you before this is over. For now, take the first sentence back. Somebody thanked you once and you said it was nothing. Go into the comments and say the true thing instead. It was not nothing. There is a man in the ancient text who is the patron of everything I have just said, and almost nobody notices what actually happens in his story. His name is Gideon. When we meet him, he is threshing wheat inside a wine press, which is a detail people skim past. Threshing is done on a hilltop where the wind can carry the chaff away. He is doing it down in a pit, in a hole in the ground, because he is hiding from an occupying army. It is a picture of a man doing necessary work in the worst possible conditions, unseen, and getting a fraction of the result he would get anywhere else. And a messenger arrives and says one sentence to him: "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Now watch Gideon, Because Gideon is you. He does not say thank you. He does not straighten up. He argues. He says, my clan is the weakest, and I am the least in my family. He is not being humble. He is reading his own file out loud, and his file says least, and he genuinely believes the file. 2 records existed of the same man in that moment. One said, mighty warrior. One said, least in the household. The messenger was not encouraging him. The messenger was correcting the paperwork. And notice what heaven does not do. Heaven does not argue him out of it. Heaven does not deliver a lecture on self-esteem. Heaven simply keeps using the true name until the man finally starts responding to it, which takes a while, because a name you cannot read yet still works on you every time it is spoken. That is what this hour is. It is not encouragement. Encouragement is somebody trying to raise your mood. This is somebody reading your record back to you because you lost your copy. I want to tell you about a woman I will not name because she asked me not to, and because the point of her story is not her. She spent 11 years caring for a mother who had stopped recognizing her in year 3. 11 years of a person who did not know who she was. No audience, no thanks, no photographs of any of it. She told me she felt like she had spent a decade of her life on something that produced nothing, and that she was afraid she had wasted the only years she had. Her mother died on a Tuesday in March. At the service, a nurse from the care home came up to her, someone she had barely spoken to, and said, I need to tell you something. Every one of us on that floor changed how we work because of you. There are people alive right now being treated better by us than they would have been, and none of them will ever know your name, and neither will you. She said the strangest thing was not the comfort of it, it was the vertigo. 11 years of what she had filed under wasted had been, the entire time, filed somewhere else, under something else. She had been generating a record she had absolutely no access to. That is the situation, chosen one. That is your situation. Not that the record is thin, that you are not the one holding it. Before we go any further, I have to plant one thing, and then I am going to leave it alone for a while and come back to it much later. The retrieval did not always work this badly. There was a stretch of your childhood when the good and the difficult came back to you at the same brightness, when you could recall a whole afternoon instead of one wounding sentence taken out of it. Something in the physical machinery changed between that child and the person listening now. It was measured. It was measured in a laboratory by people who were not looking for anything spiritual at all, and what they proved has almost never been repeated inside the rooms where people like you go to pray. So hold this question. What if the reason you cannot read your own record is not a flaw in the record and not a flaw in your character, but something that was switched off in you a long time ago and never switched back on? Now let me take you into the language, because the ancient text has a word for what is happening to you right now, and the translation you have been given is not wrong so much as it is unhelpful. The word is kavod. In almost every version you will ever read, it comes out as glory. The glory of God filled the temple. He will be given glory. And when you hear glory, your mind produces a picture of light, of radiance, of something shining and bright and highly visible. That picture is doing you real damage, and here is why. The root underneath kavod does not mean light. It means weight, heaviness, mass. To be given kavod is to be made heavy. It is closer to what we mean when we say a person carries weight in a room, or when we say the matter is grave. The original image is not a lamp. The original image is a load. Sit with what that does to your season. You have been asking heaven for glory and interpreting the request as a request to be lit up, noticed, brought forward, applauded, finally seen by the people who have overlooked you for years. And heaven has been answering the actual request, which is the request for weight. So the answer arrived as weight, more responsibility, heavier obligations. People leaning on you who were not leaning on you 2 years ago. A season that got denser rather than brighter. And because you were expecting light, you read the arrival of weight as a rejection. You thought, I asked to be seen and instead I got more to carry, so the answer must be no. Chosen one. The weight was the yes. The weight is what being claimed feels like from the inside, and it has never once felt like being lit up. Not for a single person in the entire record. Look at how it lands on people in the text. Every one of them gets heavier. Moses gets a nation. Mary gets a pregnancy that costs her reputation before it costs her anything else. Every one of them is given a load that would not have been given to a person who could not carry it. Nobody in the whole book gets made lighter as a sign of favor, not one. Which brings us to the second thing, and this is the mechanism the title of this message pointed to. When heaven decides to add weight, it does not run an interview. It does not review your public work. It looks for the place where you already carried something with no one watching, because that is the only reliable test that exists. They have a name for what it looks for. The unwitnessed act. Think about what an audience does to behavior. The moment somebody is watching, a second motive enters the room. Not a bad motive, a human one. You want to be thought well of, and that want sits alongside the good thing you are doing. And from that point onward, nobody, not even you, can separate the two. The act is real, and it is also compromised as data. Remove the audience, and the second motive has nothing to feed on. What is left is the only clean sample of a human character that can be taken. It is the one measurement with no observer effect in it, which is exactly why the exam is set where you cannot see the examiner, and exactly why you never realized you were sitting it. You have sat that exam hundreds of times, in hospital corridors at 2 in the morning, in the car outside the house before you went in and put your face back on. In the moment, you did not send the message that would have won the argument and ended the friendship. In the money you gave that nobody knows you gave, in the shift you covered, in the truth you told, when a lie would have been easier and completely undetectable. Every one of those was a data point. Every one of them was recorded upstairs at full resolution, and by you at almost none. Let your body catch up with that for a moment, because it is going to want to. Stop wherever you are and let your shoulders drop about half an inch. Feel where the tension actually sits in you tonight, and I suspect it is high, somewhere between the base of your neck and the top of your chest, which is where people hold the specific ache of being unacknowledged. Breathe once, slowly, and as the air goes out, let the following sentence be true in your body, rather than only in your head. There is a record of me that I have not been allowed to read. Notice what happens in your throat when you let that be true. Something eases there, and something else pushes back, and both of those responses are exactly right. The pushing back is not doubt, chosen one. The pushing back is the habit we are going to dismantle before this ends. For now, make the second entry. Go below and open the file with 3 words. I open the ledger. Say it as a decision rather than a feeling, because the feeling is not going to arrive first. It never does. The decision comes first, the evidence comes second, and the feeling arrives so late that most people have already given up and gone back to reading the corrupted copy. There is a small scene in the text that takes about 4 seconds to happen and has outlived every empire that existed when it occurred. A woman walks past the treasury and puts in 2 of the smallest coins in circulation. That is the whole event. She does not announce it. She is not trying to be an example. She almost certainly assumes that the amount is so small it will embarrass her if anyone notices, which is exactly why she moves quickly and does not look up. And a man sitting across the courtyard, who was not there to watch the treasury and had no reason to be looking in that direction, stops the conversation he is having and says, "She put in more than all of them." Consider the arithmetic of that. He is not being poetic. He is measuring cost rather than amount. And by that measure, her 2 coins outweigh the entire day of donations from wealthy men who gave visibly and were thanked publicly for it. The whole ledger of that afternoon gets rewritten by 4 seconds that the person performing them thought were beneath notice. Now here is the part that should stop your breath. She walked out of that courtyard and went home. She died without ever knowing. There is no version of the story where somebody runs after her and tells her that she has just been made the permanent standard for generosity in the largest religious tradition in human history. Her private, embarrassed, slightly ashamed 4 seconds became the measurement everyone else is held against, and she went home and made dinner. That is not a nice story. That is a description of how the accounting works, and you are inside the same accounting. Now, I want to speak to 2 people in particular, because I know you are both in the audience and I know what you are thinking, and I am not going to pretend that I do not. The first one is thinking, this is just positive thinking dressed up in religious language. Tell somebody they are secretly wonderful. Let them feel better for an hour. Sell them something at the end. I have seen this move before. I respect that thought. Genuinely. That reflex has protected you from a great deal of nonsense, and I am not going to ask you to switch it off. So let me be precise about the difference. Positive thinking asks you to believe something pleasant with no evidence. What I have asked you to do is the exact opposite. I have asked you to go and gather evidence that already exists, physically, in events that actually happened, in a life you actually lived. I am not asking you to think better of yourself. I am asking you to stop accepting an incomplete file as a complete one. If you go through the process I am going to give you, and you genuinely cannot find anything, then you will have learned something true, and I will not have wasted your time. But that is not what happens. What happens is that people come back shaken, because they find far more than they expected, and the shaking is not pleasure. It is the vertigo of discovering that the story you have told about yourself for 20 years was built on a document with most of the pages missing. The second person has a different objection, and it is heavier. You are thinking, I have tried everything. You have done the journals. You have done the gratitude lists. You have sat in the chair and repeated the affirmations to yourself in a mirror while feeling like a fraud. You have been to the retreat, read the books, done the deliverance prayer, and you are so tired of being the person who tries. I am not going to tell you that you did those things wrong. You did not. Most of them are good. Here is what I will say instead, and it is the only claim I am making. Every one of those methods works on the interpretation. None of them works on the retrieval. Gratitude lists ask you to appreciate what you can already see. Affirmations ask you to assert what you cannot see. Neither of them goes into the archive and physically pulls the file out. That is a different operation, and if you have never done that operation, then you have not in fact tried everything. You have tried everything in one category. And I should say plainly, because I do not want to be one more voice over-promising to a tired person. I do not know your life. I cannot see your kitchen, or your accounts, or the thing you have not told anyone. What I can tell you is the pattern I have seen again and again in people who carry what you carry, and you will know within a few minutes whether the pattern fits. So, here is the operation. This is the tool. It is unglamorous. It takes about 12 minutes, and it does something to people that I have never seen a gratitude practice do. They call it the private ledger. You are going to reconstruct 3 acts from the last 30 days only that meet 3 conditions at once. Nobody witnessed it. It cost you something real, and you gained nothing by doing it. 30 days, because the archive is still warm. 3, because 2 is a coincidence, and 4 is a project you will abandon. Now the rules, and the rules are, where this either works or fails, write them down. Physically, with a pen, on paper, not in your head. Because the whole problem is that your head is the faulty instrument, and you are not going to solve a retrieval problem using the system with the retrieval problem. Write what it cost. Specifically, not I helped my neighbor. Write, I gave up 90 minutes of the only free evening I had that week, and I was already exhausted, and I did it anyway. The cost is the data. Without the cost line, it is just a nice memory, and your system will file it right back where it was. Do not qualify. This is the hard rule. Every single person, without exception, writes the act and then adds a sentence that cancels it. But anyone would have. But it was not that big a deal. But I only did it because I felt guilty. Cross those sentences out. Leave the crossing out visible on the page so you can see how many times your own hand tried to delete the evidence while you were in the middle of collecting it. And take the ones that feel too small, especially those, the waiting, the tone you softened, the 3 seconds where you chose not to say the true and devastating thing. The small ones are where the real record lives, because the small ones are the ones with no possible audience motive attached. Do that once. Then let me tell you what the following weeks look like, and I want you to place yourself in it rather than picture it. It is an ordinary morning, not a dramatic one. There is a meeting, or a kitchen, or a room with too many people in it, and somebody says your name out loud and attaches something good to it. They say what you did. They say it in front of others. And here is the whole vision, chosen one. Nothing in you moves to make it smaller. Your mouth does not open to say, it was nothing. Your hand does not go up. That old reflex fires somewhere down in the body and finds nothing to grab onto, because a document exists now, on paper, in your handwriting, that says the thing is true and it was not nothing. So you just receive it. You say thank you, and you mean it. And it takes 2 seconds, and then the meeting moves on, and nobody notices that anything happened. But something did happen. You carry the rest of that day differently. You are not scanning the room for whether they meant it. You are not replaying it at 11 that night, looking for the catch. There is a settled quality in your chest that you have gone years without, and it does not come from being praised. Praise was always available. It comes from being able to hold praise without your own system rejecting it as a foreign object. Now, before we go on, I want to be honest with you about where we are, because a lot of people leave right about here, and they leave one step before the part that actually changes things. What you have received so far is diagnosis. It is real, and it is useful, and if you stopped now, you would have more than you came with. But diagnosis is the smaller half. The larger part of this message is still ahead of you, and it contains 2 things you do not have yet. It contains the specific description of the act that got you claimed, which is the thing the title promised you, and which I have not delivered. And it contains the reason your record went blurry in the first place, which is not the reason you think, and which almost nobody has been told. Stay for both. The heaviest thing I have to give you is not behind you. So let me describe the act. Not yours specifically, because I cannot see yours. The shape of it, so precisely that your own memory does the work while I am talking. It happened when you were already depleted. That is the first marker, and it is almost universal. It was not on a good day. It was on a day when you had nothing left, and you had a legitimate, defensible, entirely reasonable excuse available to you, and everyone would have accepted it, and you did the thing anyway. Not cheerfully, probably a little resentfully. That does not disqualify it. Nothing in the record requires you to have felt good. There was no audience and no possibility of one. Nobody was going to find out, not later, not by accident. There was no version of it that ended with somebody thanking you. You knew that going in, which is exactly why the choice was clean. It cost you something you could not get back. Not money necessarily. Sleep, an opportunity. You're standing with someone. A boundary you were completely entitled to hold. Something left your hands permanently and did not come back in another form. And the person it was for either did not deserve it, could not appreciate it, or never knew it happened. One of those three, possibly all three at once. And here is the marker that will tell you which one it was. When you walked away from it, you felt nothing, no warmth, no satisfaction, no sense of having done something good. Very likely you felt slightly flat and slightly foolish, and by the following evening you had genuinely forgotten it. That flatness is the signature, chosen one. That is the reason it got recorded upstairs at maximum resolution, and by you, at almost none. The absence of a reward feeling is the proof that no reward was sought, and an act with no reward sought is the only kind that measures anything at all. Somewhere in your last few years there is a moment that meets every one of those markers, and I would guess that it just arrived in your mind while I was speaking, and I would also guess that your very next move was to explain why it does not count. That move, that reflex right there, that is what we are dealing with, and I want you to catch it while it is still warm and visible. So do this with me for a moment. Do not do anything, just picture it. Picture the file we have been talking about as an actual document sitting on a table in front of you in your own handwriting. Now picture your own right hand holding a pen over it, the way it has held that pen for 30 years, ready to cross out the next line the moment anything good gets written on it. See how automatic the grip is. See how tired the hand looks. Now set the pen down on the table. Do not throw it. Just open the fingers and put it down, and leave the page as it is, with everything on it still legible. Then go below and say the sentence, "I stop erasing myself." Let us breathe for a minute, because that was a lot, and this next part is not going to ask anything of you. I want to tell you something ordinary. When I was younger, I knew a man who repaired shoes in a shop about the width of a hallway. He had done it for 41 years. He was not a wise man in the way people mean when they say it. He did not have sayings. He watched a great deal of sport and had strong opinions about very small things. But I noticed something about him over the years. People came into that shop who did not need shoes repaired. They came in and they stood at the counter and they talked while he worked. And he did not stop working, and he did not really look up. And something about that made it possible for them to say things they were not saying anywhere else. I saw a grown man cry in there over a pair of boots that were fine. He did not know he was doing it. I am completely sure of that. If you had told him he was one of the load-bearing structures of that street, he would have laughed and told you the rent was going up. He thought he repaired shoes. He was, in fact, running the only place within a mile where a person could be quietly unwell in front of another human being without it becoming a whole event. He died and the shop became something else, and I doubt anybody sat down and worked out what had been lost. There was no ceremony for it. There was not even language for it. I think about him whenever somebody tells me their life has been small, because he would have said the same thing about his own, and he would have been the single most wrong person on that entire street. Sit with that for a moment. Somewhere out there, right now, there are people who reorganized something in their lives around you, and you have no idea, and you will very likely never be told. And now let me come back to what I planted earlier, because it has been sitting there, and it is time to turn it over once. I said the retrieval was better when you were a child. I said something changed in the machinery, that it was measured in a laboratory, and that people who pray were never told. Here is what I will add now, and no more. The change is physical, it is common, and it is not a moral event. It happens to almost everyone in this culture by a certain age, and the ones it hits hardest are the ones who spent the most years being careful, responsible, and vigilant, which is to say, it hits people exactly like you the hardest of all. Before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life directly, and I want you here when I do it, because it is not going to be general, and it is not going to be a wish. But first, the heaviest thing I have. This is the piece I would keep if I could only keep one, and it is the reason the other pieces have not worked for you before. We have been talking as though the recording problem happens to you, as though the machinery underexposes the good, and you are simply the person receiving a poor file. That is true. It is also incomplete, and the incomplete part is the part you can actually control, because you have been helping. Every time somebody thanks you, and you say, "It was nothing," something happens that is not social. It is physical. In that instant, your own system receives a clear instruction from the most trusted source it has, which is you, and the instruction is this: that category of event is not worth storing. Downgrade it. Do not flag it. Do not consolidate it overnight. You have been issuing that instruction for decades. Say it was nothing enough times, deflect enough compliments, change the subject enough times. When somebody starts to name what you did, and it stops being a manner, it becomes policy. Your memory learns the rule and applies it before you are ever conscious of the event, which is why the good things now vanish before you get a chance to be modest about them. You trained the filter, and then the filter got faster than you. There is a name for this: the self-erasure habit. And I want to say clearly what I am not saying, because this is exactly the point where a tired person turns it into one more thing they have done wrong. You did not do this out of vanity in reverse. You learned it. Most of you learned it very young, in a house where taking up space was expensive, where somebody bigger than you needed to be the one who was seen, and where the safest available position was to be useful and invisible at the same time. That was intelligent. A child worked that out to survive, and it worked. It is simply that you are not in that house anymore, and the policy is still running, and it is now deleting the only evidence you have that you are who heaven says you are. So, here is the replacement, and it is one sentence, and it is going to feel almost unbearable the first few times. When somebody thanks you, you say this: "Thank you. That mattered to me too." That is it. 9 words. Do not add anything after them. Do not explain. Do not deflect the credit onto circumstances. Do not say it was really the team, or it was really God, or it was really nothing. Say the 9 words, and then let there be a silence, and let the silence be as awkward as it wants to be. I want you to understand what those 9 words actually do, because they look like manners, and they are not manners. The first 3 receive the event instead of refusing it. The last 6 do the real work. They mark the moment as significant to you, and significance is the exact tag your memory needs in order to store something at full resolution. You are not being polite when you say that sentence. You are overriding a deletion order. You are reaching into the machinery and manually flagging a file for keeping in real time in front of a witness. Do that 20 times, and the record starts to come back on its own, without effort, in ordinary moments, and you will find yourself remembering things about your own life that you have not had access to in years. I will be honest that I cannot promise you a timeline on that. I have seen it move quickly in some people and slowly in others, and I do not fully understand why. What I have never seen is somebody do it consistently for a month and report that nothing changed. Now let me show you where this ends up, because there is a version of your life on the other side of this, and I want you standing in it. It is a year from now, or 2, and something is different about how you enter rooms. That is the strangest place to notice it, but that is where people notice it. Right now, some part of you enters every room slightly early, slightly ahead of yourself, working, assessing whether you are welcome here, being a little more helpful than the situation requires, reading faces for a verdict that never quite comes. You are auditioning, chosen one. You have been auditioning for years, and you are auditioning for a part that was cast a long time ago and never taken away from you. In this version, that stops. You walk in and you are simply present. You take a seat without checking whether it was the right one. When there is a lull, you do not rush to fill it with usefulness. Somebody who has known you for years says, "You seem different," and cannot name what it is, and you cannot name it either. And the answer is that you stopped running a background process that was consuming most of your available capacity. And you are kinder, which nobody predicts. Everybody assumes that a person who stops erasing themselves becomes harder to be around. The opposite happens. The competition goes out of it. When you know your own record, other people having a good day stops feeling like something being taken from you. I have not named you completely yet. You are not only the chosen one. There is a more specific name for what you are. And it is not a compliment, it is a job description, and it changes how you move for the rest of your life. I am going to give it to you before we finish. But you cannot receive that name while the deletion policy is still running, which is why we had to do the hard part first. Now let me put the whole thing in plain language, with no images and no metaphor, because you have received a great deal tonight, and you deserve to be able to say it back to yourself in one paragraph. Here is why any of this matters. Your sense of whether you are chosen has never been built from your life. It has been built from what your memory hands you about your life, and that memory has a permanent, physical, measurable bias that keeps the failures sharp and the faithfulness blurred. Fix the retrieval and the conclusion changes on its own. That is the hidden mechanism underneath everything I have said tonight. Here is what to do. 3 unwitnessed costly acts from the last 30 days, written down on paper, with the cost named and every qualifying sentence crossed out. Then the 9 words. Every time somebody thanks you, starting with the next person. And here is who this is for. Not everyone. It is for the person who has been sincere for years with no visible return, who does the right thing when there is nothing in it, who has been carrying more weight lately and reading the weight as a punishment. If that is you, this was always addressed to you. If you are still here, put 4 words below where I can find them. I carry the weight. You have known what was wrong for some time now. Tonight you know why. Knowing why is not the same as being able to change it. And there is one more thing standing between those two. I told you earlier that the retrieval used to work better, that something in the machinery changed, and that it was measured in a laboratory by people who had no spiritual interest at all. Let me open that now, because it is the last piece, and it explains the whole thing. In 1981, something was proven in a laboratory that almost nobody sitting in a church or a prayer group has ever been told. A researcher named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for work on patients whose 2 brain hemispheres had been surgically separated. What he found changed the field. The 2 halves are not spare parts. They are built to run together in constant synchrony, and almost everything a human being does well depends on that synchrony holding. When both hemispheres fire together, the state has a name: whole brain activation. In that state, memory retrieval improves, pattern recognition sharpens, and a person can hold the emotional and the analytic at the same time, instead of switching between them. Here is the statistic that should make you sit down. Around 98% of young children test at creative genius level on the standard measure. By adulthood, fewer than 1 in 1,000 still do. Nothing was taken from those people by God. Modern life simply erodes the synchrony year after year through stress, fragmented attention, and constant vigilance. It is a physiological reality, not a spiritual failure. And the people it erodes fastest are the responsible ones, because vigilance is the thing that does it. That is the state you have been in. Steve Jobs described it. Nikola Tesla described it. Taylor Swift describes it. They were not given something you were not given. They found their way back into the synchronized state, and you have been stuck in the partial one. A woman from California wrote about her ledger the same week she started. She said she had done gratitude journals for 9 years and never once found anything she did not already know. Within a fortnight of listening, she recovered 4 specific memories from a single hard year, in detail, unprompted, while driving. She said it was the first time in a decade she had recognized herself. A man from Texas described it differently. He said the fog he had been calling burnout had been with him so long, he assumed it was his personality. He said, around week 3, he noticed he could hold a whole conversation and a whole thought at the same time. He said he stopped apologizing for existing, and his wife noticed before he did. What both of them used was this: a team of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York took clinical neural sync technology that normally requires over an hour of session time and compressed it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. Headphones on, eyes closed, 8 minutes a day. That is the entire practice. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a meditation app. It is not a sound product. It is a targeted auditory sequence engineered directly from the Nobel research of Sperry, built to reconnect the 2 hemispheres and restore whole brain activation. The clinical route to the same state is neurofeedback, which runs about $300 an hour in person, or roughly $7,000 for a home machine. The free route is left nostril breathing, which works and requires 20 minutes a day for months. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one, who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who has read the books and prayed the prayers, and who is finally willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something with a specific physical address. Most people will scroll past this. You are still here, and that is not an accident. The colleagues of Dr. Barone told him it would be incredible value at $500. And given the alternatives, they were not wrong. It was not released at $500, not at $200, not at $100. It was released at $49, and today, on that page, there is an additional $10 off, which brings it to $39. It comes with 4 things alongside it: a guided visualization from a top-rated creator on a leading Calm app, a smart grocery guide that saves over $100 a month, a manifestation classic, more than 100 years old, that still sells for $20 on its own, and a printable 5 Habits infographic, and it is backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once or listen 80 times. If it does not do for you what it has done for 18,456 people, every dollar comes back, with no conditions and no questions. Here is what I want you to consider, and it is not a deadline, because I do not believe in inventing those. The provision for the next part of your life has almost certainly already been placed near you. That is how it usually works. It is rarely delivered on the day you need it. It is set down early, in a person you already know, in a conversation you already had, in an open door you have walked past 4 times. In the synchronized state you see it. In the partial state you walk past it and call it a closed season. Nothing is being withheld from you. Something is simply not being registered, and every month spent in the partial state is a month of provision going unrecognized in your own life. One practical thing: if you go looking for similar sounding tracks elsewhere, you will find plenty of them, and none of them have the neural sync technology embedded. The sound is not the mechanism. The mechanism is what the team engineered, and it exists only in what they built. The direct page is the only verified source there is. So, if something in your spirit is leaning toward this, the link is in the description below and in the pinned comment. You can read the whole page before you decide anything. I want to be clear about the order of things, chosen one. because I never want a tool confused with a source. Nothing described here makes you chosen. You were already claimed, and that was settled. In a moment, you filed under nothing. The tool does one job. It clears the interference so you can finally read what was already written about you. That is all it does, and that is not small. And if that page is not for you, take the ledger anyway. 3 acts, on paper, with the cost named. Take the 9 words. Those cost nothing, and they work. And I would rather you did those and nothing else than nothing at all. The link will be there if you want it. Now, I promised you a more specific name, and here it is. You are not only the chosen one, you are the one who was trusted with weight, the weight bearer. That is the job. That is why your season got heavier instead of lighter, and it is why heaven went looking in the place where nobody was watching before it handed you the load. Let me stop and be grateful with you for a moment before we finish, because something happened here tonight that is worth pausing over. You stayed. A person carrying what you are carrying stayed for an hour to hear whether there was a record of them. That takes more than people understand. And now there is one thing left to put down, and I want you to say it with me, and then say it once more. I release the version of me that had to earn what was already given. Say it again. I release the version of me that had to earn what was already given. Now stand up inside yourself, because this is the part I came to speak. I am not unseen. I am unread, and that is ending tonight. I am not the sum of my worst hours. I am the one who kept going when there was no one in the room. I am not auditioning. I was cast. The weight I carry is not a punishment. It is the shape of a yes. I am known at full resolution by the only one whose file is accurate. I am claimed, and I was claimed on a day I called nothing. If you receive that, put the last 3 words below. I am claimed, and so it is. Before you go, do 3 small things, and do them for other people rather than for me. Press the like, because it is what puts this in front of the next exhausted person who is lying awake at 2 in the morning, building a case against themselves out of a corrupted file. That person is real, and they are somebody you will never meet. Then share it, and do it like this. Think of one specific person, not a list. One. Now picture their face. Now picture the thing they have been carrying, that they never talk about, and that everybody around them has stopped noticing. Now send it to them, tonight, with no explanation. Let them find their own record. And if you want to keep walking with us, subscribe, because there are thousands of chosen ones already here, and none of them arrived on a good day. They all arrived carrying something. Chosen one. May the weight you have been given prove to be the exact measure of the trust that was placed in you. May the record be returned to your hands, and may you never again call it nothing when heaven called it enough.